right. Shall we start talking about some vegan tragedies?
I don't know if I'd call it vegan. Well, it is kind of. I don't know. It's like, I was thinking about it this morning. I'm like, it's aptly named Impossible Foods, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, well, it's not possibly food.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
No, it is. It's like, I was thinking about that this morning. I'm just like, that's, aptly named Impossible.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, before we start, I just want to look something up real quick. I'm curious. Impossible Burger.
I have their website up, I think, somewhere. Actually, I took a picture.
I just want to look at the ingredient list real quick.
That's what I was doing.
I think people don't pay attention to ingredients, and maybe they do it consciously.
Well, I don't think they pay attention either. And part of it is education, I think, with, I mean, if it's FDA approved, then I think a lot of people, which it is, a lot of people believe that it's okay to eat.
Yes.
So that's, we know that's a fallacy. And after everything that's happened in the last few years that has been FDA approved, we might want to pay attention more.
Mm-hmm. For some reason, it won't open.
Yeah. I do have it up. Hold on. Here it is. You want the ingredients?
Yes, please.
I have it. So, Impossible Burgers have, this is the ingredient list, and some of it I may not be able to pronounce, which is like, warning.
Right.
So water, soy protein concentrate, sunflower oil, coconut oil, natural flavors, 2% or less of methyl cellulose, cultured dextrose, food starch, modified yeast extract, soy, like hemoglobin, salt mixed to I can never say that one word, to copper. It's an antioxidant theoretically. Tocopherols. Yeah, L-tryptophan, soy protein, and soy protein isolate. So one thing I would mention is none of that is organic. So
no,
the soy is going to be GMO. It's got cultured dextrose, and dextrose is corn. Plus it's a sugar. So again, not organic. Yeah. And it's got your bad oils in it. It's got seed oils.
Yeah. So methyl cellulose is the binder that they use for it, but it's also a binder used in paper products, construction materials, glue, paint, dust control, cell culture, stem cell differentiation. It's 100% chemically made. Right here, methyl cellulose does not occur naturally and is synthetically produced by heating cellulose with caustic solution, sodium hydroxide, and treating it with methyl chloride. It is the substitution reaction that follows. The hydroxyl residues are replaced by methoxide. And that's how they make it. So that's what's in that food. Make it a binded to make it look like meat.
Yes.
Isn't that lovely?
Well, and yeah, it's very lovely. And the other thing I was going to say is the soy, like hemoglobin, that's what makes it have that bloody look.
Yeah.
Which, if I were a vegan and I had a problem with eating meat, why would I want to have something that looks bloody? Right? And it's fake blood. But I was looking at the website for impossible beef meat from plants. Okay, again, impossible, that pretty much sums it up.
Right.
It's not possibly made. But anyway, what they say is, and I was just like, wow, impossible beef meat from plants is made from plants for people who love meat. What? Right?
Oh.
This is on there. This is their marketing stuff. So anything you can make with ground beef, you can make with impossible beef made from plants. Tacos, sliders, lasagna, you name it. That is the front and center for their marketing on that. So if you love meat, why would you want this except you're being good to our earth?
Right. So here's what I found interesting is the CEO that was in the documentary, and we'll put a link to the documentary that we're actually discussing today. The CEO of that I think it was Impossible Burger, made no qualms about who they were marketing to. They're not marketing to vegans. They're marketing to people who eat meat because they want them to stop eating meat, which is why they've gone so far into the cow methane, climate change, and then
that's what it's about.
Love the point about India, because India does not eat cow. They don't really have a lot of cows over there, yet they have the highest pollution rate of methane gas of every country.
Well, they have a lot of cows because they don't eat them. They're sacred. So that's why they don't eat them. Cows are sacred over there, so they don't eat the cows, and there's too many of them over there.
Oh, that's the problem.
At least that's the belief of these people.
Okay.
This is what's causing climate change, right?
Yeah.
It's all about climate change, really, when you get down to it.
Yeah, it totally is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That and food control, right? Like
absolutely.
If you can get people to stop eating meat, you can definitely control more what they are eating.
Yes. Well, and I think the guy made a really great point. You've got people in different cultures and places that, how can they, really be sustained by the exact same foods as everybody else, and, everything being plant-based, because functional nutrition counselor coming out, I don't agree with any one way of eating.
Agree.
God made us all unique.
Yes.
We each have a way that is best for us to eat.
Yes.
So, and that's what we need to find. I don't think Leigh Ann and I are saying, if you want to be vegan, be vegan.
Yeah.
But, and it may be the best thing for you. It really may be. And what I tell people that I work with that are vegan or vegetarian is that, okay, but pay attention to your body, because your body may tell you, I need to eat a real hamburger.
Yeah.
And if it does, then listen to it. And, because it is telling you what it needs, and it will tell you what it needs. So be in touch with your body.
A lot of people believe that meat hurts them. A lot of people, I've heard so many people say to me that if I eat red meat, it hurts my stomach. And we actually have a friend, there's a very limited amount of people in the world, like less than 1% of the population, that has a true reaction to eating red meat. But it's a very, very small population. I mean, our bodies are created and designed with the acidic pH in our stomachs to process meat all the way up to the point of it being rancid. Like, that's how we are designed. Our acid in our stomach is more acidic than a lion. So that's how we're designed. But there are people who have reactions. And Tyler has reactions to to chicken. Sometimes he has reactions to pork. I have reactions to eggs if I eat too many eggs, but here's why. It's the soy. It's the soy that they put in the feed that they give
Yep.
the chickens. It's the soy that they put in the cows. It's the vegetarian feed that they're giving these animals that creates that reaction in most people. It's the hormones that are pumped into these animals that creates that reaction, and the steroids that they're given to make them bigger and fatter. So quality is always a big deal. And I hear a lot of people in the carnivore space, because I'm primarily carnivore, talk about, get what you can afford. And I agree with that. If you don't have a reaction to a specific type of meat, get what you can afford. But the reality is, in today's world, things are so contaminated through cross-contamination, through, airplanes that are dropping pesticides. Things are so contaminated. It's really hard to get anything at all, whether it's vegan or non-vegan, that doesn't have some form of contaminant in it. But quality is always the most important thing. So when you talk about the vegan aspect of living, it's more about the whole food vegan. I don't agree with a raw food diet, because raw foods can be very toxic for your gut. And I've seen so many raw food people who went from being a raw food vegan back to eating steak because they just had diarrhea all the time. There has to be some form of balance. I agree with you, Sheri. There's no reason to think that one size fits all for everybody in food. And I used to believe that way. I used to think, because with my mom and her Alzheimer's, that keto was the best form of eating. But there are people out there who can eat a lot of carbs and still have brain health. It's really an overall lifestyle. And that's why I love Sheri. She's a functional nutrition counselor now, so she's really paying attention to overall lifestyle. But I just, my big issue, not just in the vegan space, but in all food, is the ingredients that they use to make these products. There's nothing clean, nothing at all. If it's packaged, there's nothing clean in it. It's so hard to find something that's not toxic.
Yeah, I mean, it's all processed foods, and that, the main thing is to get away from those processed foods, and they're pushing processed foods down on us, saying that that's the thing that's going to create health. And it's not. We're already seeing it. We're already seeing, obesity because of the processed foods.
Yep.
We're eating unfood. I call it unfood.
I love that word.
It's not, it's not food. That's why I love the fact they call it Impossible Burger, because it's impossible. It's not, well, we know it's not a burger, but it's impossible. It's not food.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
it's get back to eating God's foods. Those are the one ingredient foods, come as close to that. And, it's, if you do better on, fruits and vegetables, then by all means, stay with fruits and vegetables, listening to your body. I was telling Leigh Ann, I had a conversation yesterday with a person who is vegan, and she goes, I tried the paleo, and I tried, eating, these foods and whatnot. And she goes, I felt worse. She goes, I felt sicker. And she goes, I couldn't do it. And she goes, I discovered a lot of it was the fat. And so she was like, I feel, and she's been doing it for years and years, and she hasn't had repercussions, but has healed a lot of things from, her diet being just, vegan, vegetarian, so it's, and I think our bodies, as far as a raw goes, some of those vegetables, especially cruciferous, they need to be cooked, at least put them in, and put them in the oven, or put them, cook them a little bit so that they're more tender and they'll be easier to digest for your body.
Yes.
So it's not a bad thing. And I know, like you've told me, I can't eat certain vegetables, or when I eat vegetables, it doesn't work. And, what I would say with that too, is that sometimes when we go back to eating something that we haven't eaten in a while, we may react to it because we haven't eaten it in a while. So it can go with anything. The same thing with meat. some people say, oh, I don't feel good when I eat meat. Well, some of that also may be in your head because I'm eating an animal and I don't really like that. So you may have like an aversion to that, and that's fine. If that's why you're not eating meat, then, that's fine, but also pay attention because maybe you do need the meat.
Yeah. I did love that
And
one
find
doctor
out
who
why.
was in the documentary yesterday who said, I would not be doing my due diligence as a physician if I told everyone that came into my place that they needed to eat a plant-based diet, especially if plants don't make them feel good. Like that's the
Right.
kind of doctor treatment that we need. Even some of the brain health doctors that I follow because of studying brain health, they push so hard vegan proteins, proteins through grains and legumes, eat meat, but eat less meat and more vegetables and things like that. And, I just think that doctors or physicians are pre-programmed to believe in those studies that were done that aren't legitimate. There's literally no clinical trials done on anything when it comes to red meat or other meats and how they affect the body, where it's strictly just meat. And I do know that there is a physician, or he's not a physician, he's a surgeon that I follow who is a carnivore and is currently working on a clinical trial. But, they take years to actually publish with good scientific research. So it'll be a long time before that study is ever published. But at least something's finally being done to prove that meat is not bad. And more articles are coming out. Harvard just recently produced an article that talks about how red meat is actually good for you and doesn't cause heart disease. So that's the other
They go
point.
back and forth.
I know, but that's the other point, right? Like that China study came out years ago that talked about how red meat was killing us and creating heart disease. What they didn't say was a lot of those studies were being done with people who were eating burgers from McDonald's and, the bread and the fries and all the other things that were included in that. And they were just lumping them into a study, which that's not a study, but it was done intentionally because they wanted to control food. If you look at back in the 50s, so the first fast food restaurant opened in 46. Before that, and even 20 years past that point, when people were still eating home cooked meals, basically whole foods. I mean, the processed foods came out in the late 50s and 60s in the boxes in the stores. Heart disease and diabetes skyrocketed after we started eating boxed foods. Skyrocketed. But yet people still believe, because they're being told by their physicians, that they need to not eat meat. They need to stay away from dairy.
Yeah. And some people do need to stay away from dairy. I do.
Oh, of course.
And I wish I didn't have to, honestly. I really wish. I love cheese and I love butter and all those things. And it's like, oh, but I know that it bothers me, and, it gives me a lot of congestion. Some people, it hurts their stomach, but, again, it's listening to your body and learning what foods work for me and what foods do not work for me, and paying attention to that. That's one that I keep hoping that maybe I will not have an issue with.
Right? So most states don't allow raw dairy products to be sold in their stores. So unless you own a cow, you're buying a product that's highly processed.
Yeah, we can get raw dairy here.
Yeah, we can.
I can get raw milk, and but I still have issues with that. I still like even ghee, which has barely any of the proteins in it.
Yeah.
I still will, after a while, I'll get like sinusy, congestion, headache from it. So I'm like, oh, man, it's not right. But I mean, so the video that we watched was possible. What was it? Now I can't remember.
No, I don't remember either.
It was impossible. Sorry, beyond impossible.
Beyond impossible. That's right.
And so so we will. Yeah. So and interestingly enough, just this past week, Governor DeSantis actually signed a bill in Florida, and we are the first state that is saying no to fake meat. Now, and yes, no, yay. Part of it is because of cows. So we have a lot of cows in Florida, so we're probably, just creating so much issue with climate change.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the water will be overflowing our state any moment now. But that's why. It's because of the ranchers and whatnot that they said no to fake meat in Florida. And I think that's great. I think that's, a wonderful thing. Now, there was a caveat in there, and it said that does not include the impossible meats or whatever. Yeah, because they're not.
Oh, because the fast food chains are selling.
Well, because fake meat and what they're saying is lab grown. It's lab grown meat that they have an issue with. And impossible meat is not, or impossible food or whatever they call it, is not lab grown.
Okay.
Processed, highly processed, but not lab grown. So yeah, we don't want fake meats either. So you don't want lab grown meat.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't know how. No, anything, any food that's created in a lab is not food.
I've looked into this lab grown meat thing, and it's really disgusting. What they're doing is taking cells from actual meat and culturing it into new meat. And I don't even, I don't have a scientist's brain. I loved chemistry in school, but I don't understand the chemical process of cloning cells to make meat. But it just seems horrible. However, tinfoil hat on for a minute. Look at the bird flu. Look at all of these diseases that are passing through our animals that are now hitting our cows. I believe that there is definitely an intention to get us to start eating those meats, because too many animals are getting sick now in this state, in this country.
Yeah. Well, I think it's intentional. They want to get rid of, our meat. They want, and move us into, because if you take a look at it in this video that we watched, red flag, World Economic Forum is all behind it.
Yep.
That they're behind pushing the impossible meats, saying they're great, and that we need to go totally plant-based. And what was it? You can have 7 grams of protein a day of meat or dairy. And the guy holds up this little teeny cube. He goes, "That's 7 grams. That's cheese." 7 grams. And he holds up this little plate and he goes, "This is for a whole family for the day," and it's like, we can't survive on that in our body. We will be so sick, honestly.
Yeah.
To have
So when I went through my keto carnivore nutrition certification program, that was 3 years ago. At the point that they did the recordings, and I don't know when that was, all of the members of the WHO who also push a vegan diet were vegan. There's not a meat eater at that time on the board of the WHO.
Oh, okay. Well, so they say. We don't know, but
yes, they claim to be vegan. So
yeah, and that's okay. If it works for you, great, and you guys can have that impossible meat. I don't know. I think the other thing that was really interesting too, and gross, honestly, that when they are farming the fields, there's going to be meat in that may be mixed in with whatever they are, the wheat or the corn or whatever they're harvesting, because they're in the field and they're using a big, a combine that goes through and, is threshing all of this, food. There could be frogs or lizards or, bugs, caterpillars all in that. So they may or may not get pulled out depending upon if they're, crushed in small pieces by the time that it, goes through. So, I mean, it's kind of gross to think, but
it's true.
So if you're eating vegan, you may still be actually getting that.
Yeah.
And, they think that they're saving all these, animals, and
a lot of those fields
that's not so.
Infested with rats, infested with them. I've seen videos of just thousands of rats in these fields. So
I wouldn't doubt that, because I mean, it's it's a buffet. Come on.
Yes. Yes.
It's a buffet for them. So, honestly, that's the way everything goes. They're getting fed, all of it just goes all around with all the animals. So, so there may be rats in the food too. He didn't go there. So.
No, he didn't. These are videos I've seen in the past.
No, he didn't. Yeah. So, yeah. And then because the other thing he said was about the boars that come and feed on the food, and they basically go out there and kill the boars, and they're not doing anything with the boars.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why they couldn't. Yeah, I don't know why they couldn't do something with them, sell them, for food, because I would think it would be a good food and people would buy it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, but they're because they're going in and they're eating up all the profits. So they'll go out and shoot the boars. So again, animals are dying. It's not. If that's the reason, then do a little bit more research if that's your only reason, because
don't. I mean, I get it. If somebody loves animals and doesn't want to see them dead, and that's the reason that they're vegan.
I get that too.
The vegan industry does not protect animal rights the way you might think it does. And in fact, I mean, just look at PETA. PETA is one of the biggest industries that claims to protect vegan rights and wants people to eat vegan and support the animals. And they euthanize more dogs every year than any vet. That's what they do. But yet they want to protect the animals. So, I mean, there's a lot of lying that goes on behind the scenes with these industries, and it's, it's all about money. Just follow the money.
Yes. Yeah, every time.
Yeah.
And everything.
Yeah. In fact, one of the things that's mentioned in that video that we watched yesterday is there's a huge vegan documentary that was put out, and it was produced by oh my gosh, what is that guy's name? James Cameron, who, if you don't know his name, he's produced some of the biggest films like Titanic or directed them, and he directed this one. And come to find out, he had invested a lot of money into one of the vegan companies and then created this documentary. But, you just have to follow the money.
Yeah. And it's interesting because in this video also they talked about Harvard and what Harvard was pushing and whatnot. And now you're saying they've come out with an article saying, no, we need to eat meat.
Yep.
So, I mean, it goes back and forth and back and forth.
It does. But the reality is, and what's mentioned in this video and what we'll say to you here in this podcast, is eat a whole food, whether it's meat or whether it's vegetables. Eat a whole food. Don't eat something in a box. I mean, that's just really what it boils down to. If it's in a box, if it's in a package, if it's already prepped and all you have to do is throw it on a grill and pretend like you're eating a burger, eat a burger. Eat cow. Eat, I can't wrap my head around. And I've gone down this boat before when I thought I was doing something healthy. I've eaten vegan cheese. I've eaten soy based meats like tempeh. I've never had one of the Impossible burgers, but I've had tempeh. I've eaten a lot of tofu. I've had the soy breakfast sausage before because friends of mine who don't eat meat have cooked it. And it was really, it really was tasty, but I can't even imagine looking back now at all of the fillers that I was eating. So, I just know energy comes from high quality food. Lethargy comes from fillers and chemicals. So
and your body doesn't know what to do with them. So it's not getting the energy from the food when you're eating those packaged foods. So that makes sense. And I think the other thing I was like, so they make all of these impossible foods taste exactly like meat.
Yeah.
So to speak. Why? You know, they're making everything taste exactly the same. Why? Just eat the real thing. If you really want the meat taste, then you know, eat the real thing.
Yeah. Save your health, save your heart, eat a steak.
Yeah. Just eat real food, please. Learn what's real food. Yeah. And I think we saw Bill Gates' little cameo in there too.
Yeah.
So just saying, he's behind it too.
Saw the vice president on there talking about how she would definitely support no meat. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, and he's been buying up the farmland.
I know.
Across the U.S. So.
China's buying up a ton of our farmland. And another thing just to think about is if you look back at dictatorship and how one of the ways that they were able to gain control of their population, it was through starvation, through food control. So we have to stand our ground in this country. We have to make sure that we are not allowing this country to dictate to us what we can and cannot eat.
Because the same thing is not going to work for every single person.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, they're not going to give us real food. So, yeah, I'm not going to eat bugs and like it. So,
yeah, no bugs for me.
No, you know what? And I think that we saw this in the Bible too. That Bible says don't eat bugs.
Yes.
So
don't eat.
Just saying, everything they're doing is counter to the Bible. So, you know, pay attention to that too.
Yeah. It's good point. All right. Well, there's our spiel today on health and veganism and processed foods. We hope that you are gaining some sort of knowledge or confidence in your food choices through this, and we ask you to let us know, you know, if you've had experiences with vegan foods, if you've healed from being vegan, or if you've healed from being a carnivore, you know, what is your health journey around food? And I would also be really interested to know if you are currently struggling with a vegan diet, what your food choices are. That would be a really interesting piece of information. So let us know in the comment section below. And yeah, that's pretty much it for today. We'll again put a link to that video, and we'd love to have your feedback. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, and comment, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.